Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing, then another, and don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation, but then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Anywhere else, Tuesday is just, well, Tuesday. But if you're at KFC, Tuesday is $10 Tuesday, which means you can get 8 hot, juicy drums and thighs for just $10. Let me say that again. 8 pieces of hot, juicy, original recipe chicken, hand-breaded in 11 herbs and spices. All for just $10 every Tuesday, only at KFC. Guess Tuesday isn't just Tuesday anymore. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tips, and fees extra.
Welcome to the Covert Narcissism podcast. I'm your host, Renee Swanson. I am not a therapist, and you are not a victim. Welcome back to the show, where healing gets real and sometimes a little ridiculous. Today's episode is a little more humor-based because, let's face it, if we stay serious all the time, we're going to lose our minds. Sometimes we just have to laugh a little bit at how ridiculous all of this really is. So today's episode is proudly sponsored by Inner Conflict. You know, that battle that's going on between your head and your heart, that high-stakes tennis match between your brain and your gut when you're in a relationship with a covert narcissist. And if you're in that relationship, you know what I'm talking about. The drama, the gaslighting, the guilt tripping, the blame shifting, the circular conversations, the mental gymnastics that would make Simone Biles crazy. Now, let's be honest. When you're in the thick of it, logic and intuition are not exactly besties. So today we're going to dramatize this a little bit. We're going to give voices to those personalities, to those thoughts that are in your head and those thoughts that are in your gut. Because if you've ever tried to, figure it out while your gut is silently screaming, run, you already know that it's like living with a courtroom drama happening entirely inside your own body. This ultimate debate competition that never stops. So here's scene number 1. A typical Tuesday, the nonsense conversation. And you've had plenty of them or you wouldn't be here listening to this podcast. So it's Tuesday. You're sitting at the kitchen table holding a cup of tea that you don't even remember making. Your partner just walked out of the room after a conversation that made, approximately 0 sense. So your gut starts this conversation. Okay, that didn't feel right. But your brain, always the optimist, says, relax. He said he was just tired and stressed and, maybe you were being a little sensitive. Well, let's expand this, shall we? Here's what horrible thing just happened. You asked him to pick up the kids from school next Thursday. Oh no, that's the horrible thing that happened. That's it. Just a regular logistical request. Can you pick up the kids next Thursday? Not next Thursday during a solar eclipse while blindfolded. Not every Thursday for the rest of eternity. No, just one Thursday. It's not like you asked him to wire a chemistry thesis to the moon. You didn't ask him to drive 3 states away to rescue a stranded golden retriever named Biscuit. You didn't ask him to build a treehouse using only dental floss and passive-aggressive energy, though he's got plenty. You asked him to get the kids. His kids. One Thursday. Now his face tightened like you'd just accused him of war crimes. He sighed so dramatically that you'd think that you just requested a kidney. And then he said, wow, so I work hard all day long while you sit at home. There it is. Sit at home and do nothing, really? And you want me to do more? Nothing is ever good enough for you, is it? You're stunned and you just, you start to respond saying, well, I just asked if you could. He cuts you off with a tone that is soaked in contempt. You're lucky that I'm here to take care of everything for you, like I always do. And he walks away. That's it. Leaving the room No question answered. Like he leaves your question and you don't even know, is he picking up the kids or is he not? Leaving your brain doing these mental gymnastics that it never trained for. But then an hour later, still not answering your question, but an hour later, he sends a heart emoji. Well, that's all it takes for your brain. Your brain jumps on that. See, now that has to mean something. People don't send heart emojis unless they really care. But your gut, no. Your gut is over it. It means nothing. That's love bombing between insults. He just threw emotional confetti at your face and expects you to forget that he just emotionally slapped you. This is abuse. Well, your brain, still running to the defense, says, oh, please, will you stop? Can you not keep going there? He's not a narcissist. He just had a hard childhood. But your gut jumps on that one too and says, so did I. You don't see me emotionally manipulating people all over the place. This is the battle going on between your head and your heart. Let's go to scene number 2, the apology that wasn't. So it's Saturday morning. You've had this ache in your chest since Thursday night. You see, Thursday night was the night that he lashed out at you over dinner because you, quote, made a face when he interrupted you for the 5th time. You didn't even realize you had made a face, but apparently your eyebrows ruined the entire evening. You finally mustered up the courage now, 2 days later, to bring this back up. It took everything in you, not just to say the words, but to believe that you actually have a right to say the words. So you're sitting across from him. Your voice is a little shaky, but it's steady enough. And you start, hey, the way you spoke to me the other night, that really hurt. And I don't think I deserved that. He leans back in the chair, folds his arm like he is now the one on trial. His expression is equal parts of how dare you and this again. So you continue explaining yourself, defending yourself while he sits there in silence, his arms folded, staring at you. And then comes the apology. Sort of. You know the kind of apology, but your brain jumps on it immediately. Hey, he said he was sorry. That's a good sign, right? I can let this go. I want to run from the chaos that's going on in my world. Now let's break this down. I mean, he said he's sorry, but what exactly did he say? He said, I'm sorry that you feel hurt. Not, I'm sorry I hurt you. Not, I see how my words impacted you, and I'm sorry. No ownership, no empathy, and no clue. Just a diplomatic way of saying your emotions are your problem. But your brain, eager to jump on the excuse wagon, says, see, he acknowledged your feelings. That's emotional maturity, right? But your gut, totally unimpressed, says, he didn't acknowledge your feelings. He acknowledged that you have feelings. There's a huge difference here. One is empathy. The other's a customer service script. But it gets worse because after the non-apology, he doubles down. He says, you always take things the wrong way. I can't say anything around you anymore. Here's the classic twist. Suddenly now, you're the problem again. You're too sensitive. You're too reactive. You're too much. And he's the poor, misunderstood soul that just, wanted to vent after a long day and dumped all of his emotions right on top of you. He finishes his speech with, whatever. I said I was sorry. Can't we just move on? Your brain is desperately searching for something to hold on to. Okay, but at least he didn't yell. That's progress, right? We're going in the right direction. But your gut, again, not impressed, not having anything to do with this, says no. This is quiet manipulation. Yelling is obvious. This is psychological origami. He just folded that whole conversation into a swan of guilt and handed it to you with a smile and now wants to move on. And just like that, you're back in this spin cycle. You feel worse than before you even brought it up. You're second guessing everything right now in double time. And you start to wonder now,
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing, then another, and don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation, but then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano, and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof, while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
If you're the problem, but you're not. You're just a human being who is asking for respect, and instead, you get gaslighting. This is scene number 3. The decision. Should I stay or should I go? So it's 2 a.m. You're laying awake, staring at the ceiling fan, doing that thing where you blink real slow and hope maybe sleep will just sneak up and tackle you. And then the thoughts come. The ones that you swore you would never think again. The ones that you promised yourself you'd left behind at the last emotional spiral. You know these thoughts. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. He didn't yell at me this time. That's improvement, right? Maybe I do need to communicate better. I probably confused him. It's not always bad. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's really good. Doesn't that count? Maybe if I can just get through this rough patch, then we'll be okay. What if I leave and I regret it? What if I'm the narcissist? Spoiler alert here. If you are worried about that at 2 a.m. and laying beside them, sleeping soundly, you're probably not the narcissist. Now, your gut chimes in to these thoughts that your brain has got dancing around. And your gut says, but this feels like death by 1,000 paper cuts. I feel like I'm bleeding out here. Your brain, still clinging to that, brochure for the emotional circus, says, but what if I'm just being dramatic? He's not that bad. I mean, it could be worse. He doesn't hit me. But your gut, still as persistent as ever, says you're just justifying emotional abuse with the absence of physical assault. That's how low your bar has gotten now. I mean, are you just going to start thanking him next for not throwing furniture? Silence. Your brain doesn't have an answer to this. And your brain just says, point taken. Well, now you laugh out loud in the dark because deep down you know your gut is right. But your brain has been trained. Your brain has been trained to give the benefit of the doubt, trained to make excuses, trained to protect the relationship, even at the cost of your own heart, mind, and soul. Now let's go to scene number 4. The self-help spiral. I love this one. So it's Sunday night, and you just finished watching a relationship reel on Instagram. Now, this reel is titled 5 Signs That You Are the Problem. Just love those, okay? And naturally, your brain has, jumped on this, and your brain has said, okay, but I do that. I do that. And now your brain has entered into this spiritual enlightenment phase. Your brain says, okay, I've been thinking, and I got this worked out. Maybe we've just been manifesting the wrong energy here. So let's try some affirmations, all right? Ready? Here we go. I am safe. I am loved. Well, your gut already stops you. No, you're not. You're not loved. What you are is love bombed, emotionally whiplashed, and there's a big difference here. Nope, the brain takes over and says, no, okay, let me finish. I am attracting emotionally available people into my life. Really? Emotionally available? That's where your gut goes. It's like, you got to be kidding me. He just texted you, okay, and ghosted you for 2 days because you asked how his day was? The only thing you're attracting is emotional confusion and cortisol. Your brain, desperate now to hang on to this new growth, this new direction, says, I radiate confidence and self-worth. But your gut just won't give up. Your gut says not when you're Googling things like, is it emotional abuse if he calls me needy and then blocks me for asking a question? And now the brain goes silent. Your gut says, listen, I love a good affirmation, but you can't affirmate your way out of a manipulation spiral, out of an emotionally abusive relationship. You don't need a mantra, you need a boundary. If this inner back and forth sounds familiar to you, please know this, that you are not alone. Covert narcissistic abuse thrives in the shadows. It's subtle, it's slippery, it hijacks your logic center and gaslights your gut until you don't know what's real anymore. But here's the thing, your gut always knew. It always did. You just needed your brain to stop interrupting with excuses. So here's where healing begins. Not when the pain ends, but when the brain and the gut finally stop arguing and they team up. When they stand together and say no more. Your brain and your gut were never meant to be enemies. They're both actually trying to protect you, but in different ways. Your brain wants to keep the peace, avoid chaos, to make sense of things that don't make sense. It's trained to look for the logic, to find the patterns, to smooth things over. But your gut doesn't care about logic. It cares about the truth. It knows when something feels wrong, even when you can't explain why. And healing? Healing is when these two parts of you finally meet, not in battle, but in partnership. It's when your brain starts saying, you know what, that didn't add up. And your gut responds, exactly. And I'm glad you're finally listening. When the two of them team up, you become unstoppable. You stop gaslighting yourself. You stop making excuses for the other person. You start seeing clearly. You start reclaiming your voice. You stop surviving and you start living. So here's your invitation. Let your brain and your gut get on the same page. Let them walk side by side. Let them guide you out of the fog and into your truth, because you were never meant to live in confusion. You were meant to live in clarity. And that clarity, it begins the moment you believe that what you feel is enough of a reason to trust yourself. Your story matters, and you deserve to be heard without judgment. If you're ready to take that next step toward healing, check out my coaching services on covertnarcissism.com. Don't forget to subscribe here for more episodes where we mix truth, healing, and sometimes just a little bit of humor. But sometimes that laughter is exactly what we need. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. You have been listening to the Covert Narcissism podcast, where we break apart the insidious nature of these incredibly destructive and frustrating to the ends of the earth individuals. If you are struggling with the isolation, overwhelming self-doubt, and obsessive ruminating, you are not alone. I offer live, personalized coaching that is specific for you. This coaching can be individual or group sessions, or a combination of the two. You can find all the information at covertnarcissism.com. Reach out anytime. My email address is Renee, RENEE, at covertnarcissism.com. And remember, I am not a therapist and you are not a victim, but I am a coach and you are a survivor. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a health care provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those she has talked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support any allegation or claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of the material and information provided.